African authorities, I understand, are trying to find out why their Gupta extradition request had failed. They're trying to engage with the UAE as well as Interpol. Let's get the thoughts then of legal expert, joined by Advocate Michael Osborne. Advocate, good afternoon to you. And do you also get the sense this is the end of the road? There really isn't much more our country can do as far as the UAE is concerned?
Good afternoon to you. I don't think there's enough in the public domain at this stage to really say what South Africa's options are going forward. I'd like to see much more information. I think the first news that came to light was only last night. To the extent that the Guptas are in Switzerland or in Vanuatu or any number of the other places that have been mentioned, it may still be worthwhile pursuing an appeal in the UAE, simply because there's some chance, I suppose, that they may wish to return to the UAE. So I'm not sure that it's off the cards or entirely futile to appeal this.
What happens when it comes to international organizations making request of each other's legal frameworks? It's one thing to request an extradition. It's quite something else to ask a court of another country to appeal something like this. Are we, or rather is the UAE, Advocate, under any obligation to do that or even bother to reply to a request like that? Do they have to do it?
Yes, they're under an international law obligation insofar as they have a treaty with South Africa. Now, that treaty then has to be interpreted by the court in the domestic country, and if South Africa, as a member of a treaty, is unhappy with the decision of the court of first instance, then like many other, or like most other interested parties, they certainly have the right to appeal. At least I should say that insofar as UAE law resembles our law, then yes. Secondly, the UAE has an obligation under the UN Convention Against Corruption to collaborate with global efforts to cut down on corruption or to challenge corruption. And as the minister said earlier today, under an article of that Convention Against Corruption, the country from whom extradition is requested should not unilaterally or arbitrarily refuse extradition based upon technicalities. What they're supposed to do is go back to the requesting countries and seek clarity. And as I understand it, the minister's complaint is that the extradition request was rejected based upon a technicality, which, had there been a request for clarity from the court in UAE, could have been resolved.
So I imagine then, Advocate, that could be the basis for an appeal. I suppose it could become a bit more of a legal wrangling between the two countries, now saying, well, if you just come back to us as South Africa, put those requests forward, we could have given you the information that you want. That could there be basis for an appeal on that.
Yes, precisely. Now, it may be that a reason that there won't be much appetite to pursue an appeal in UAE is because it has simply been rendered futile, in the sense that there's no prospect of these individuals returning to the UAE, in which case South Africa would have to pursue other avenues. If it's true that the Guptas have received golden passports in Vanuatu, meaning they've essentially bought passports, which I think go for about 150,000 US in Vanuatu, then the next step would be to go to Vanuatu, an obscure island in the South Pacific. Now, as far as I can tell, Vanuatu is not on the list of countries with which South Africa has an extradition agreement. On the other hand, both South Africa and Vanuatu are members of the Commonwealth, and there are multilateral provisions between members of the Commonwealth which may facilitate an attempt to go after the Guptas to the extent the rumors that they hold these golden passports are true.
And when it now comes to dealing with the question around Switzerland, advocate, do we as a country now, basically it's a game of tic-tac-toe, isn't it? We couldn't get the UAE right. There's no real chance of success there. Now there's reports of Switzerland. Do we as a country and our Justice Department have to go to the Swiss authorities and say, can you confirm the Guptas are there? If so, we would like them extradited. It's basically we just restart the process every time, don't we?
That's indeed correct. The way around it, or the way around the necessity to chase people from one jurisdiction to the other, would be through Interpol, and an attempt could be made to ask Interpol to renew the international arrest warrant, which, so I understand, has recently expired.
I'm going to say thank you very much for making sense of it, because it's going to get quite complicated now. Advocate Michael Osborne, I wish you and your loved ones a wonderful Easter if you're celebrating, otherwise a good long weekend as well. Advocate, I appreciate the time. On the failure to extradite the Guptas from the UAE back to South Africa, the Justice Minister saying he's shocked. Now reports of either the Gupta brothers being in Switzerland or in Vanuatu. Now you're probably wondering, where in the world is that? Let me help you. It is northeast of Australia, quite a few hundred kilometers just off the Coral Sea. It is southeast of the Solomon Islands and just east of, just west rather, of Fiji. So trying to get you centered. It's near Australia, near New Zealand. It's that part of the world, in case you're wondering where in the world is Vanuatu, in case you were wondering. Thought I could help.